Okay, so, like I was saying, this first equation's already in slope-intercept form. Now, this second equation is not. Alright, that is not in slope-intercept form. So before if I can tell if they're parallel or perpendicular, I need to get that equation into slope-intercept form. So we're going to move down here and we're going to do that. Slope-intercept form means the only thing that can be on the left side is the y. It's got to say y equals mx plus b. So in this case, I got to move the 6x to the other side because the x has got to be on the right. Don't try to combine. Don't try to, sorry, I blanked up there. Don't try to combine this 9 and this negative 6x. They cannot combine, right? Those aren't like terms. For something to be like terms, they need to both have the same exact variables with them and powers on those variables. So I can't combine a 9 and a negative 6x. Okay, so I just write it the way we learned in class, put the variable first and then the constant at the end. So it turns into negative 6x plus 9. Now we're almost in slope-intercept form. To finish getting it to slope-intercept form, we need to get rid of this 3 that's in front of my y. And so the only way to get rid of this 3 that's in front of my y is to divide it to the other side. Okay, waiting for this technology to catch up here. So again, I'm going to divide this 3 to the other side. But it's got to divide by everything on the other side. Okay, make sure you divide everything. So when I do that, I get y equals negative 2x plus 3. So now this equation is in slope-intercept form. And, well, interestingly enough, you can tell that these two equations that we have now, this one and this one right here, are actually not parallel or perpendicular, right? If they were parallel, they'd have the same slope, which they don't. One of them's 2, one of them's negative 2. And they're also not perpendicular, because 2 and negative 2 are not opposite reciprocals. One of them would have to be 1/2. So these lines are actually not parallel or perpendicular. Not the best example ever. So let's make another quick one over here, a little side problem. Let's say we had y equals 2x plus 4, and we had y equals negative 1/2 x minus 7. These two equations would be perpendicular. Okay? These two would be perpendicular because the slope of the first one is 2. The slope of the other one is negative 1/2. Those are opposite reciprocals. Another quick example, if I had y equals 4x plus 3 and y equals 4x minus 6, those two would be parallel lines, okay, because their slopes are the exact same. They're both 4. Okay, but like I did in the actual first problem we did here, you got to make sure that both equations are in slope-intercept form. And this is a big thing for the ACT. If you get an equation that's linear, okay, meaning there's a y and an x, and they're both to the first power, like all these x's and y's don't have any powers on them, okay, it'd be beneficial to put everything you see into slope-intercept form if you can get it there. Okay, anytime you're talking about a linear equation, get it in slope-intercept form. Okay, then the last thing is standard form. Okay, standard form. This is the one that's kind of just complete opposite of slope-intercept form. Okay, it looks like this. All right, and this is the one that has the 4 rules or the 4 stipulations. The first one is X and Y both got to be on the left side, just like I circled here in green. X and Y got to be on the left. The constant has got to be on the right side. The next one is AX can't be negative. That means that this first term, circle it in yellow, I guess, that has got to be positive. Okay, it can't be negative. And over here on the rules, I tell you how to fix it. If it is negative, then we're going to multiply the entire equation by -1, which we're going to do that here in a second. So give me a second on that. The next part is no fractions. Okay, no fractions in the entire problem. Again, to fix that, we're going to multiply the entire equation by the least common denominator. And then the fourth stipulation is no factors. Okay, no common factors between A, B, and C. So the three numbers in our problem, they cannot have anything in common. All right, and we're going to go show how to fix that here in a second. If this can catch up with my screen. All right, there we go. All right, so here's our problem. Let me try to run through it real quick before this iPad messes up again. So first off, X and Y need to be on the left. They're not right now. So I need to move this 1/4 X over by subtracting it to the left side. Okay. Again, we are waiting on the iPad to catch up. Still waiting. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to subtract it over. Now, so since I've moved that to the other side, my new equation is -1/4 X plus the Y that was already over there equals -3/5, the number we left on the other side of the equation. Okay, so all I did was move the X to the left side because that's where it's got to be. And it's got to be in front of the Y because that's how we're supposed to do it. All right, now step 2 says that the X, or this term right here, cannot be negative. Well, mine is currently negative. Okay, so we gotta fix that. And I told you that what we're gonna do is we're gonna multiply the entire equation by a -1. That -1 has got to go to everything. So I get a positive 1/4 X minus a Y equals a positive 3/5. When we were in class, I told you just change all the signs. It means the same thing. If you multiply by a negative, that's just changing all the signs. Okay? So once we've done that, we can't have fractions. That was the third one. Well, I have fractions right now. I have a 1/4, and I have 3/5. So those are my two fractions. Again, I can't have them. So I'm going to multiply by the least common denominator. All right. So in this case, the least common denominator, still waiting on this iPad to catch up. I think it's probably about to mess up. I can feel it. Probably have to make a third video. The least common denominator between 1/4 and 3/5. Well, you ask yourself, what number can 5 and 4 both be? Okay, so 5 and 4 can both be a 20. So that's what I'm going to multiply the entire equation by. We're going to multiply all of it by 20. Okay, hey look, it finally caught up. So I'm going to multiply everything by 20 because that's the least common denominator between 1/4 and 3/5, right? 4 and 5 can both be a 20. So when I do that, I get 5x minus 20y equals 12. Okay, and that answer right there is in standard form. Okay, X and Y are both on the left. As soon as it ever loads on your screen here, yet again, struggling with this today. I don't know what's going on with it. Just doesn't want to connect right. But hopefully it connects here in a second while I'm talking about it. The X and the Y are both on the left. Okay, where we want them. There's our answer finally. The X, this first term is positive, so that's good. All three numbers have nothing in common, right? 5, 20, and 12 have nothing in common. 5 and 20 do. 20 and 12 do. But all three of them, 5, 20, and 12, have nothing in common. So we're good. Had they had something in common, we would have divided by it right now. We would have just divided each term by whatever they had in common. But they have nothing in common, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so that is our standard form equation. That's our standard form answer. Again, X and Y got to be on the left. The X, AX, the first term, cannot be negative. There cannot be any fractions, and you cannot have any common factors within your answer. Okay, so that's the end of this video. There'll be 2 videos for this first assignment because it broke up in the middle. So I'll make sure to title that. Again, email me if you have any issues. Text me if you have any issues. Just get a hold of me. Make sure you're doing your work. I appreciate you guys. You've turned in your work. Those of you that haven't, I'm probably going to contact you soon. So just make sure you're staying on top of things, all right? Again, I miss you guys. Hope you guys are having a decent, elongated hiatus from school. Okay? But I'll see you as soon as I can.